How you doing,
Yeah,
man? It's been about a year since we connected in this way, so I'm really excited to talk face to face and like hear the details of what has happened in 10 months, I guess, because we did this in January, I think.
oh well, yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, a lot's happened for sure. I'm doing pretty good, just chilling. How
Awesome,
about
man.
you, man? Like, how have you been?
Well, as you know, a new chapter of my life unfolded between then and now, um,
Yes, a big one.
with becoming a dad. But yeah, I've been super creative, or just creating a lot, just not as much music. So I'm really excited to kind of like get a little contact high off of your, rush that you're going through with a new
Oh yeah,
album being released here.
yeah. Hopefully, I can give some of that inspiration, pass
Yeah,
it
dude.
over. Because
I
like,
need, I need the fire.
yeah, I mean, you've always been inspiring me. Like with that video game, dude, for the Astro Child.
Yeah,
Like
man.
I I try like I want to play it so bad, but my computer, the GPU on my computer is like absolute trash. So it's like lagging.
Did you try it on
So
your phone?
I have to try that
Give it a go
next.
on your phone too. I got like the touch screen controls on there too, so hopefully it works, but I'm still kind of getting like test feedback right now and making little tweaks before I finally put it out there, but I'm excited about that. So thanks for being hyped up about it too.
Of course, man. I mean, that's like right up my alley. Like, I mean, I when I was in college, I designed like this game in VR in virtual reality.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that was really cool.
What
Um,
what was the premise of the game?
it was basically you get shrunk down to a miniature size and you're in this kitchen and you're just like collecting stuff and just like killing bugs with like a water gun. You have like this little, you know.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that was a fun class. So I find it super cool that you are blending music with, the coding and the video games and stuff. So
Thanks, man. I had no
it's
idea that you were into that world, and particularly VR. That's like so exciting for me to hear because that's really the next like venture I want to dabble into. And I've already taken a little bit of a look at how to upload your own world to VR chat. I don't know if you've checked out VR chat, but
mhm.
I have the Oculus, so that was kind of like my breakthrough like VR experience was with VR chat. I like it blew my mind that you could just drop portals and meet strangers and go to different worlds with like people all across the globe. But and I've even met up with my buddy in Massachusetts, like in these virtual, worlds and stuff. So that inspired me so much. And I was like, oh, I want to make a dream shark environment that you can walk around and maybe see the
I
characters and
I would
stuff.
absolutely love that, dude. That would be great.
Yeah,
You
how did you pull it off? I need some wisdom from an expert here.
there's a program called Unity,
Okay,
and
that's pretty much what
that's
I'm
like
looking at.
yeah, that's if you're looking at that, that's what we used. And we had the HTC Vive headset.
Okay. Is that
Um,
something that you still do, like play around with VR, or did you kind of get bored with it after a bit?
I mean, if I had like a headset, I would continue to mess with it, but that's the only thing. I never, bought one.
Oh, okay.
They're, I mean, I guess they're fairly affordable now, but
Yeah, the
um,
Oculus, I think, is under 300 now. Like I feel like they've got a model for maybe 200 bucks now, but
that's
yeah,
not bad.
last year I was just like, I'm gonna kind of spoil myself for my birthday, and I got that thing. And then like I was
Nice.
I was really into it, and then after like a month of using it, I was kind of like burnt out on it. I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, dude. It's it does get a little bit like I don't know. It makes me like lose. like track of reality, honestly. Like, because you're in the virtual world and it just feels so real when you're in it. It's just hard to explain if you haven't done it before. And
Yeah.
it definitely blew my mind the first time I tried it, like with a good headset. Like, I'm not one of those like ones where you put the phone up to your head.
Oh no, those, yeah, it doesn't really
Yeah,
work the same.
it's not the same.
But yeah, it can have an effect where it, like for me, it kind of bleeds into my like it like soaks into my eyeballs in a way, like the LED
Uh-huh.
screen like has these afterburn images. So like I would do it right before bed or something and go to sleep and close my eyes, and like I would still be seeing these like little eyelid movies, if you will.
I could see how that would happen. I didn't personally have that happen to me. Maybe I didn't play it long enough, but um
Yeah,
just
it's trippy, man. Like, yeah, I would be dreaming, or like I'd be seeing those little afterburn images, and like I don't know if I'm dreaming or awake or just have like residual retinal damage.
yeah. Would you ever get dizzy when you used it? Like,
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm kind of like touchy in the stomach to begin with, but
yeah, me too.
yeah, some of the vertigo in that stuff is crazy. There's like a Spider-Man slingshot gun type game where you're like, and it, yanks you upward. Uh, that I've done, and like, yeah, that one, if you like fall off of a skyscraper, it's kind of, it's convincing. It makes you feel like you're about to hurt yourself.
Yeah, I could imagine that.
Well, hey,
That's cool though.
I haven't done a proper introduction here. It just kind of dawned on me, but I should do that. This is the Explorers podcast, and this is a long-awaited break of the hiatus, featuring my first ever guest, Jacob Adams, and he is going to be or not debuting, but releasing Electric Retrograde in the coming week, less than a week. By the time this airs, I believe it will be on the day 11/11/21. So Veterans Day or Armistice Day. Is there a reason that you picked that date?
It was this is kind of silly, but it's mainly just because of the angel numbers, like the 1111.
Okay,
You know, I was like,
like make a wish.
I'm big into like number synchronicities, and I just figured it would be good luck to do it on that day. So I was like, that's what I went with.
That's that's like kind of what I suspected a little bit, because I know that you're talking about the Indigo Children last time, and like
Oh yeah.
and so like numerology isn't a far stretch from there, but I
Yeah.
want to stay focused on your music, but I do have a little side question for you. Have you heard of digital integers? It's like a
I
weird
don't
math thing.
I don't believe I have
It's
digital integers.
yeah, it's just some weird little tidbit that I saw a YouTube video of, but we'll have to loop back around to that. It's not too
Yeah,
important.
I'm
But
curious.
yeah, it's an interesting number synchronicity that like I think I think you would be interested now that you brought that point up. But all right, so that's really cool. You're releasing it on 11/11/21, and Electric Retrograde is clearly like a representative title of what's to be expected on the listener's part. I feel like just going through the album for the first listen about an hour prior to this really like reflected the title well, and especially your little short quip about it, saying that it's going to be an array of synthesizers, but also nostalgic acoustic sounds. It stayed so true to that. So I was really pleased actually to like know what I was getting into, and then the expectation was met and surpassed. And yeah, just all in all, man, was such a pleasant first listen. I know I'm gonna get more value out of it the second and third and consequent listens there, but just for a first listen, usually like half of the album sounds like pretty foreign to me a lot of the times, and it takes a while to sort of get into it. But every song I thought had great hooks, and I just I had some favorites, but I thought it was great through and through. So you should be really
Well,
proud of this one. Congrats, man.
thank you so much, man. That means so much coming from you, dude.
Of
Like,
course, dude.
I'm glad it translated well. Like, the title, and just the music, because I just kind of went for it with this one. I don't really know the direction I'm going with music, so this is kind of an experiment. So the next one might be totally different. I don't know.
It ought to be. I mean, well, it doesn't have to be, but if that's what your
Yeah,
heart, if that's what your heart says, then like, I love that. Yeah, you followed your compass on this one, and it wasn't a repeat of Square One at all. And honestly, it was just a very obvious evolution to me, like a very positive growth. Like the mixing is, just leagues more clear, and the drums just are punchier, more saturated. The kick and snare are coming through a lot nicer. The vocals have a light, crisp airiness to them that's really nice. Even your pitch is just stronger on these songs. I feel like, not to say the last album like is that I want to put it down in any way. It's just that, like, to me there was just a clear upward growth in all directions pretty much. It's this is like a little tighter and less rocky, as like you probably are already aware. Like, it's a little less rock than the first album, and like just a little tighter and more succinct, almost a little bit more on that producer side of things, but not really looped. It's not like you're using samples and just looping them either. I just love the fat but acoustic drum sound. Like, you're not finger beating it, which is clear, but it sounds nice and fat and juicy. And you've slapped on some nice saturation and EQ'd it really properly. So the drums in some of the songs are just really fat and pumping. And I liked it so much. But yeah, I'll pass it over to you and just ask you, what was the different treatment on the drums? Because I know, as a big Kevin Parker fan, drums mean a lot to you, and same here, and we're all kind of part of that obsessive drummer producer kind of mindset. So it's interesting to kind of hear your take on what you did to do a different approach this time.
Sure. Yeah, the drums very important to me. I think a lot of the sound had to do, like, I mean, obviously I took a different mixing approach. Like, I'm evolving with my mixing and really fine tuning it, but a lot had to do with, I got some new microphones that I was just experimenting with, some vintage Electro Voice pencil condenser mics. I think that was a big part of the drum sound. And I just wanted them to be like you said, you basically hit the nail on the head with everything you said. I think that I was trying to translate. Like, the drums are punchier. That's exactly what I wanted for this one, because the last one, they didn't hit as hard as I wanted. But yeah, the drums I was trying to definitely get, putting a lot of attention into those.
The bass too. The bass too is a lot more. The tone is coming through a lot clearer. Like, it wasn't as punchier and felt more impactful, but less low endy to where it's like kind of booming,
Yeah,
muddying everything up. It just felt more, kind of carved out in the mix. So just the bass and
yeah.
drums were working together so much more powerfully, I thought, in these new recordings. So it really was exciting to hear.
Yeah, I was trying to go for that, just clarity and overall more of a produced sound. And yeah, I mean, it's funny because I hear a lot lacking in this one that I think I can do a lot better with. but that's just my ear. Like it
And what
always is so frustrating. Just like when you hear like when you compare your own music to like really good produced songs, I'm like, man, like how do I get it to sound like that loud, that punchy? It's always like,
yeah,
a learning process.
it's so funny. Yeah. I feel like we listen to our mixes, hop into the car or play it on the iPhone or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, this thing slaps. And then you play it next to the other song, you're like, what the fuck happened? Like,
Yeah,
where did I go wrong?
yeah, it's
it can be a really like defeating feeling, like listening back to back your song right next to a highly produced track. But I think that's one of the only ways to like slowly climb it up towards those tracks that we respect so much, is like using it as a reference to kind of gauge.
yeah, exactly. Like using definitely mixing with that alongside, like what you're trying to go for, using that as a comparison is always gonna, help you get to that level. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I
I went crazy. Sorry to cut you off, but
No,
I went
go.
crazy with the mixing on this one, like just because of that reason, because it's like, why can't I get it to sound this crisp or whatever? So I just kept going, refining it, and it's going back to that, whole perfectionist thing that we touched heavily on in the first episode.
Yeah, such a good conversation that has really lasted with me in a number of different ways. But I really did appreciate you saying those words, and that's why it was so worth taking that little snippet of that gem of advice, that sometimes the imperfect parts have a more emotionally resonant, impact. I loved that. Yeah, that's been a quote or like something, a phrase that's just lasted with me and buzzed around in my head ever since you said it. So this next album of music that I'll be recording, I'm going a lot more raw with it. I want to do it a little bit more lean and mean and have acoustic drums and a little, I actually, yeah, I'm kind of going in the opposite. I think we just kind of traded paths, where I think I'm heading more towards your first record and you're heading in the direction towards my
that's kind
synthly,
of cool. I like that though.
But yeah, I just want to do, yeah, acoustic guitars and mic up some amps and mic up a acoustic drum kit and stuff. I think I might have gotten my fill of synthesizers over the last couple of years. So uh, I'm excited to just kind of like take it back to a more like stripped back sound aesthetic. But uh, yeah, I don't know ultimately what the point of that was, but
I,
I
I
feel like
I
we're.
like I like hearing that though, because I feel like everything kind of comes full circle, because I almost feel myself torn between wanting to go full on electronic versus like more just all classic instruments like acoustic. Um,
I, I think you're playing to your strengths, man, which is just wonderful to see, because in your first album, I thought the acoustic guitar was really a highlight. And I love to see that you reintroduced that into the second one and like really kind of spotlighted it. And I just thought that was like a unique Jacob strength, was your playing on the acoustic guitar with that like slightly flamenco influence. Is that
yes,
accurate?
yes, you did pick up on that. For some reason, I like playing. Um,
It's
it's
cool. It's you. It's awesome.
it's like I don't even know what scale it's called, like melodic, some kind of melodic minor. I I don't know the theory that well. I just know what it sounds like, and
Is it that one
I,
that you've got the in the first album? Is that it?
um, yeah, that definitely has a touch of that in there.
Okay. What song is
Um,
that again?
Something's missing, I believe.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that
That's
I think that's the one you're thinking of.
like
That's
like a da 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 da.
yeah,
Is that right?
something's missing,
Okay.
I believe.
Very very deserty sounding song,
Yeah.
as I put
Uh,
it.
And what adds to that flamenco sound in this album, I'm actually using a nylon string guitar, which I
Ooh,
fell in love with. And
I love that.
that's very flamenco, Spanish sounding. And it just has such a good feel, such a natural feel to play it. I just, it's a finger picked guitar. You do all finger picking on it. And I just loved it so much that I, incorporated that quite a bit in the album.
Yeah, man. I had some favorites. Would you like to know what they are?
Yes, I'm really curious, actually. I have a
uh,
suspicion I know, but I want to hear if I'm right.
I think I remember all their names, even though I only looked at them once. But Underwater Sunset was a immediate win in my book. I love the almost like broken machine sound about like whatever that synthesizer is. It's really refreshing and just different from anything that I really remember hearing anytime recently. So that really stood out to me. I love the multiple kind of different breakdowns and jams inside of it. It's a great song to get lost inside of, and just the arrangement of like sonic textures is just really nice in it. So I really like that one. Um, and then what stood out to me next, like in a big way, was something angry jazz or murder jazz.
Oh yeah,
That song number 4, right?
4. Yep.
That one was really interesting to me. The like lyrics and stuff were pretty limited, but I really just loved the chords so much, and the bass, and like it just had such a unique and like trying to find like a nice word for damn it, my AirPods died.
Uh-oh.
Let's see what's gonna happen. Can you talk?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Why must this happen?
That's
Let's
okay. We will pause. We will edit this out.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna roll forward this way with it over the laptop speakers, because uh, my headphones for some reason are being finicky with my computer. But I don't
I
think,
think it'll be okay.
yeah, I don't think this will like destroy the episode. I started it out with our pictures like not properly arranged too, and it's just like screen recording. So I was like, crap, I screwed that bit up too. But this episode is a little bit riddled with technical like difficulties, but the quality's still there. I'm enjoying the conversation regardless.
See the what was that quote I said about the imperfect, things have more of an
Yeah.
emotional impact. There we go.
This is, yeah, people will see this and be like, I've been there. I've been there before when nothing seems to be
It's
working.
more, yeah, it's very relatable. Like you should see the setup I have right now. It looks absolutely ridiculous. I have my phone like taped to a wireless charger, and I have it taped like at an angle because my charging port is not working very well, so it's on a wireless charger.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely like my computer's on a big cardboard box right now. So yeah, we're we're doing it the
Nice.
makeshift way.
But nobody can see that. So like,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they wouldn't have known if we didn't just say it. We just gave ourselves away that
It's
we're
true. I'm gonna crack this window open. I'm getting all steamy in here. Heat's blasting me. So yeah, man, to pick it up, Murder Jazz, great one. And then now this one I might be a little biased on because you sent it to me early, but the next one to really captivate me was Ease My Mind. I just thought that might be the banger of your or like the hook of the whole
really,
album in my feeling. But like I said, I might be a little biased because like I was primed to like know what it sounded like
yeah,
quite a bit before it came on. So of course it's going to kind of like align with my expectation in a way, but I thought it was so good. I love the way you mixed it, and you took it to that next level that it needed to go from the demo you sent me. That not much really needed to be added to it. It was just the volume arrangement and stuff, and yeah, your vocals were just mixed like a lot. They were just placed in the mix so nicely in terms of like the EQ and stuff versus the demo, that it blew me away in a whole new kind of way. So I'm gonna give that my like certified gold platinum star there.
That's so cool that you say that, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And it's that one felt like, to me, the mix just translated exactly like I wanted. Like, out of all the songs on the album, that the mix, it felt right that one felt the most done to me. And it's such a simple song, but
Yeah.
it feels that one just drips nostalgia to me, which is why I love it. Like the solo in it it just gives me a good feeling. And I actually have a DIY music video for that one that I'm
Oh
gonna
yeah.
release.
On
Yeah.
like how to play.
No, like
Oh, the
I
making
made
of
the
it.
video like kind of homemade. I wanted to give it like a retro, like VHS tape feel, even though it didn't come out like that, but like it's just me kind of like, well, I'm not gonna give it away too much. It's
All
just,
right. Well, I'm excited to see it. Is it like a
yeah.
music video or just some little
Yeah,
extra bonus? Okay,
it's a
sweet.
music video. Yeah.
Sweet.
I mean, nothing super produced. I kind of I like the kind of DIY indie vibe. I guess kind of like that one's very Mac DeMarco. Like
The song, the video or the song?
kind of both.
Yeah, I was gonna say the song definitely gave me Mac DeMarco vibes, and I don't know if it's the that
Yeah.
those little bits there, the
The
little
little
synth
background
follows that.
vocals.
Um, but I love the chord change when it goes into that like kind of downward, like dum 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 dum
Yeah.
dum dum boom. I really
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. That was so original. It was really cool.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
I
dude.
I'm happy you like that one. Yeah, that's I really liked what you had to say about it. Um,
I had I had one more top favorite,
yeah,
and it was well placed too, or it's a good point to have another favorite, but it was the album closer, Portal.
yes.
I like that a lot. It felt like I'm trying to kind of recall it in my head a little bit, only listening to it once, but it felt like it was a multi-sectional kind of song. And did you have some sort of like French female vocal in there, or French female quote or something? That was cool. I like that it
I
wasn't just a typical sample. It felt like it was meant to be for the song in some sense.
Yeah, I had a friend, and it was actually a Spanish. She's a
Okay.
Spanish speaker, and I just wanted her to say something kind of mysterious in there, and keep people wondering, like what is she? I mean, of course, Spanish people know, but
Yeah. I took Spanish, but not enough.
yeah, but I just kind of threw that in literally the last day before I submitted the album. Like I wanted to do it for like months. I had the song and I had the vision for it, and I just reached out to her, and she was like very. I was like nervous to ask her because I thought she'd be like, "This is weird" or something, but she was totally all about it, and
It
yeah,
was a really
it's in
cool
there.
touch. I thought it was really nice sounding. Like it, I don't know, some samples could be like a force, and that one just felt like it belonged with the song. So it was a really nice, like, um,
Cool.
was a nice little thing you sprinkled on there. And I could tell it wasn't you too. So that was, for some reason, it was just refreshing to, hear a different vocal
Yeah.
just for a moment. So it was like, that was cool.
It's almost like, it's almost in a way like, I don't want, like, jarring isn't the right word, but it like catches your attention. You're like, what, whoa, what is that?
Yeah, juxtaposes it a little bit.
Yes, juxtaposed.
Yeah, man, great experience on the first listen through. Like I said, I'll be getting more out of it, and those other 4 songs in between there, I like them a lot. But I did have a question, like the one that stood out to me as being most different from everything else was your Space Disco song. I thought that one was like a lot more, it wasn't a pop song, but it had pop sentiments to it, or like pop production, maybe is the right word for it. But I liked all 4 of those other songs, but I wanted to ask you, like, what was your feelings about that? Did you feel like that was a very different sounding song, or do you feel like it kind of comes from the same nature as the rest of them?
I do think it is pretty different. It was more of an experiment where honestly, I was being like very, like, when I wrote it, I was being like really like sarcastic. Like, I was like, I'm gonna make like a really poppy song just for the fun of it, because like you hear people doing that like as a joke all the time, and then the song, like, people end up really digging it.
Yeah.
But I ended up just really liking it. It just like grooves, like I love the groove of it. So I don't know, I just kept it, and I was like I don't know, I just went with it. It felt right.
Sometimes those songs end up being like the standout track for some reason. Like, I made the song Expert Loser, and I titled it Expert Loser, like almost as a reference to the fact that I thought this song would do poorly. And a lot of people will be like, that was my favorite song you guys played live. I'm like, what? Like the instrumental one? And they're like, yeah, I like that one the best. I'm like, whoa, okay. So I guess the point being that, like, sometimes the song that you think like is the most experimental, like weird one, sometimes ends up being the like most beloved one. But
yeah. And then like people will like, that'll be the popular one, and then they'll go to listen to your album and they'll be like, wait, nothing else sounds like this.
right?
And then they'll be like, then they'll just be like, I don't know.
I don't know
like disappointed.
But yeah, it reminded me a bit of I mean, it wasn't the same, but I don't even know if this was really, yeah, it's kind of disco-y a little bit, but your song that was like had a really intense bass line on the first album. It's like wah, wah, da, 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 like
yeah, locked out.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of that. Like I could see that I don't know, I felt as though those 2 songs had some kind of like boppy kind of quality in common to them.
Those were like the pop, that was like the pop one of the last album, like I always like throwing one on there that's like extra poppy.
Yeah.
But funny enough, it's like I thought that was going to be the one everyone liked, and that's like the least favorite actually, based on like the stats.
Interesting.
Which I found that really interesting. So I have no idea what people are going to like on this album. Like
I think I could see Ease My Mind being on some like big Spotify playlists, man. Like I could see that popping up in my shuffle and me being perfectly happy about that. Like,
yeah.
So that's
funny because I almost put that, like, I had that as the second track to the album.
Oh, that's what as I was listening to it, I was thinking, oh, I wonder if I can tell Jacob, like, I think this should go number 2, and if he still has time to change it. But I figured you already submitted it to Spotify or the DistroKid, so it'd be a pointless thing to say.
Crazy. It's crazy because I had it as the second one, and for some reason I changed it, but
It's all
I'm
right.
not. The main reason I changed it was because like I wanted it to flow from like electronic feeling to like more acoustic as the album goes on.
That could kind of be the core of it. I mean, like, it's
Yeah,
not unheard of that, like, in the center of the album is like the biggest, song. So, but that's not even maybe necessarily going to be everyone's opinion. You're just talking to me. So this is just what I
yeah,
think about. I just like that one a lot. It's got I could hum it, I have hummed it since you sent me the demo. Like, I only listened to it a handful of times, but it was stuck in my head enough that I could just, kind of play it in my head and enjoy it that way. And like, it's just such an earworm that I think that a lot of people will listen to it one time and walk away knowing it almost completely, like, which is a great thing. And it's just a nice melody that it feels like you've heard it before, but it's just one of those just great sounding melodies off the bat where it's like, it has a sense of familiarity, even though it's not like you knocked it off or anything. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, yeah,
it just instantly has that like, it has that nostalgia to it. It perfectly taps into that feeling of like, I feel like I've heard this before, but yet I haven't, So
yeah, yeah.
I think it's your winner off this album, but my second favorite next to it is your opener actually. So which is
Cool.
totally different from it. The Underwater Sunset.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
that
And
is my favorite in a different sense. So they're kind of like on par with each other. But yeah, there's my
well,
opinion
well,
on
thank you for the
your
kind
record,
words on
man.
this. I did want to touch. I did want to touch on like Underwater Sunset a little bit. Um, that one just felt really like to me that one just feels like really like kind of like quirky and just strange. Like it gives you like surreal vibes. Like that's what I was feeling, and it reminds me for some reason of like the band the Garden, where they have all these like really weird like drum like just crazy drum fills and really fast drums.
Yeah, I noticed
Um,
that. I was gonna ask actually, has your playing with bands uh started to influence your solo writing? Um just in particular, I noticed that like you went for a lot of these kind of like fast triplet fills that
yeah,
a lot of that kind of stuff. And like, I was thinking like Jacob's been playing for a lot of bands in the last year on drums. I wonder if like their styles or like if you're playing for their style, if that style ends up kind of leaching its way into your own writing. Cause I've noticed like just playing with other musicians, somehow a little bit of that stuff kind of like soaks into my writing in some way.
that's a good question. And I think when I had written these songs, it was kind of before I was with those bands or with the I'm pretty much in one band playing drums, and that's Honeysickle. And I think those drumming patterns actually came like the crazy drums came from like I was inspired by Lewis Cole. Are you familiar with him? He's like he does all these crazy like drum and bass style drumming, and he's
Okay.
just insane. And he's really just a strange character, and he plays everything himself as well. Um, I'm trying to think of like a famous song he does. Like he does that one where it's like can't wait. I don't want to check my bank account.
Okay.
He's like, I guess I'll have to send you a video of
You need
him,
to
but
sing it to me for me to
it's like
know.
it's like I don't want to check my bank account. I don't want to check my bank account. And it's like super synthy and like
Very
he
drum
he
heavy
just
though.
goes Yeah, he goes crazy on the drums, dude. Like this guy is an absolute beast. And I just was inspired by him at the time, I think, which is such a weird influence. Like it's the weirdest, like he's he just makes like kind of like funny music, you know?
Is it all
Like
kind of like silly themed stuff, like all a little
most
bit
of it.
comical?
Yeah, it definitely is very comedic music.
Nice.
He's just having a ball doing it. Like I've never seen someone like have so much fun like just shredding it on everything, dude. Like he's a he shreds it on the drums, the keyboard.
And what's his name
Like
again?
Lewis Cole.
Lewis Cole. Okay. How old is?
You probably have seen him. If
Okay.
I'll send you something.
Yeah, I want to check it out now. Yeah, it seems like this is kind of the like becoming the trend. It's the day and age of like the solo producer types with just all the different instruments and recording tools at their disposal. It does raise the question to me, and I want to raise that question to you of do you think that it's going to that the music industry will sort of flip the script and bands will become a coveted thing again where it's like all these, all the best guitarists with the best, not necessarily like super groups like whatever, Phil Collins and that crew, but as somebody who plays all the different instruments, like you love bass and you love drums and you love guitar and stuff, but do you ever feel like um that like you have a weak link that you're like, if I just had another musician who did this thing, I bet they would do it way better than I would, and then our forces together would create some like really high quality music instead of me trying to juggle everything all the time. Has that question like started to cross your mind at all as you play with other people?
That's a good question. I would say my weakest link instrumentally for what I want to do is maybe like piano and keyboard. Um, like I do very kind of simplistic, I know basic chords and but I find melodies are very easy to write on the piano.
Yeah.
But like I know some really talented piano players in town who I want to collaborate with at some point. I think they would add like the jazz piano players, like any jazz musician is like leagues ahead of what I do.
Yes.
Um, and
I'm saying yes from a personal place, not like I'm agreeing with you, but
yeah, yeah,
when I was in high school, I took like a jazz band class and like I was just way out of my depth. Like I learned a lot, but I also learned how little I knew.
I feel that, dude. Like it's very humbling seeing a jazz player like doing a solo or something, and you're like, or if you're trying to play with a jazz player and they're like, yeah, just play like a B flat minor diminished
Yeah.
chord with a
It's
add
always going to be
nine.
diminished or
Yeah,
augmented.
yeah, and I'm like, okay, like I totally know that chord. Nah, but
Yeah,
but
I would probably sink in that environment. I can do a lot of stuff by ear, but like it would become problematic quickly. Like if someone's like, "Oh, just play this progression," and yeah, I know a little bit of music theory, but yeah, it gets real muddy real fast.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, do you just feel like those, because obviously we're all going to have strengths and weaknesses with trying to play 4 to 5 to 6 different instruments, vocals, drums, bass, guitar, keys, and maybe some other instrument, whether it's a ukulele or I don't know, whatever. But I'm sure that you don't necessarily like limit yourself that you wouldn't try another instrument. So in that case, let's just say it's 5 to 6 instruments that you're juggling and trying to like do at the utmost quality. Do you think that just like the value of it all being from one person is greater than the value of like multiple people who like all maybe individually are better at each individual thing than the one person? Like, and this applies to me, you know, too, since I'm doing the same exact thing as you, but I've just wondered that of like, yeah, I can play the guitar and I can play the drums and stuff, but like, I wonder what a drummer who would be better than me would sound like in conjunction with the other stuff. Or I wonder what a keyboardist who like just really has the chops, what they could do if we worked together. And it makes me wonder if like that outcome would actually be better than what I could produce. But then the opposing thought to that is just like, no, there's just something special in having it all come from one person, and as some put it, not compromising the creative vision of it.
Yeah,
So,
I tend to lean more towards, you know, like doing everything yourself because it translates so well. I think the whole piece really can come together and feel, you know, very, very genuine and cohesive. Um, but the other side of the coin, like, you know, collaborating is also really great because you're creating something entirely new. So I guess I'm torn between that. But for me, the process has always been really easy, just doing it on my own, because I know exactly like what I want the music to sound like, and I'm not necessarily like trying to make it sound like super complicated. You know, like I want it to sound like simple and catchy. Uh, that's like what I want to kind of go for, and just the textures, the sounds, and just spend time getting that right, you know.
have you heard other people, like other local musicians or friend musicians, ideas that you're like, oh man, like I wish I could have that musical idea to like do in my style, or like I wish that we could like work together so that like I could be a part of that musical idea or whatever? Or do you always just kind of feel as though like, you know, for the most part, I fulfill my own needs through my own music? Or are there other people's songs that you kind of like look at with, you know, like you know, like a watery mouth kind of thing, like, oh, like I would love to take your chord progression and your this and like pair it with this, or like, you know, you're almost maybe imagining how you could produce other musician songs. You ever have that kind of cross your mind, or do you mostly stay in your own bubble, in your own zone?
I have something kind of similar, like not quite in the sense, not quite in the sense where I like hear a song that they make and I'm like, oh, I wish I had that song, but like in the sense where I'm like, I wish I was like in that group or something. I wish I could like add my flavor to that group and just play, you know. Sometimes I like playing the back seat in a band. Like I'd actually prefer that because it's very difficult to arrange meetings for the bands and everyone's complex emotions and schedules. I know you're
Yeah,
laughing because you know what I'm talking about.
yeah, it's funny. You could have just left it at everyone's complex, and that would have been perfect. Like you said, everyone's complex schedules, but just the statement "everyone's complex" is like, it like basically says it all. Yeah, everyone is so complex.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, it's yeah, it becomes a different level of responsibility, I suppose, when you're like become the face of something, or like are fronting something, or everyone's waiting for your leadership on something. But
mhm.
I feel young, like I've wanted to just drum for a group for quite a while and just kind of sit in the back and like, you know, just yeah, be in the shadows, but have a good time.
Yeah, that's like where I'm at. like I love it because it's like, I mean, that's a kind of heavy role too, because
Yeah.
you got to hold it down. If you stop, I mean, it stops the whole production, and it's very noticeable. But
The drums
it
are
feels
kind
so
of
natural.
driving people to dance around and move too. So yeah, it's a pretty
Yeah,
big responsibility, but it's like for me, like not having to do something melodic, like the fact that the drums aren't melodic, but just rather rhythmic is makes me feel a lot more safe. Like there's so much more that could go wrong melodically, I feel like,
yeah,
just hitting
yeah.
hitting one sour note, one half step down or whatever, it's just like it could really spoil something. So I have this like sense of peace with drums since there's not as much room for error. I mean, like you still have to have your chops and stuff, but
Like you can bullshit your way a lot easier through
right.
a song on the drums. Because if you don't know the chords, or it's kind of pretty difficult unless you're an expert to just like play right along to a new song, which I've had to do this multiple times. The last show I played was like, oh man, it was rough because we were down two members and we had some fill-ins, and we just kind of were like, we were just like playing songs that we all kind of knew, just like off the cuff, to try to like fill time.
It's like
And
covers and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But as the drummer, it's like I'm like, oh, I'm glad I'm not playing like the guitar right now because I'd be totally lost. Like, you know,
How many members are in your band again?
there's six members. It's a pretty big band.
That is a big band. Do you guys do the whole split it 6 ways when they pay you $100?
Yeah. Well, we've got some pretty decent pay. Sometimes we each could walk away with a hundred, on some of the bigger shows we
That's
played, which
awesome.
like
Like
I'm
six
happy
hundred for one band. That's really nice.
if you just gotta, sometimes it's a matter of just setting your price and just sticking to it, and that, they pay, some of the bigger bars in town and stuff will pay bands because they want, the bands are what makes the bars,
Yeah.
like popping. So
That's really encouraging to hear that you guys are having some fair compensation. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like you do have to just state your worth and know your value. And
mhm.
yeah, I had to chase down somebody for payment. It was quite
Yeah.
annoying. We played at this gig that was already a bit of a letdown because of it was inside this little, basically like a closet with a glass, and all the sound was bouncing off the inside and not getting out the door. There's no speaker in the door, and the crowd is like 30 feet away, and they said they couldn't hear us at all. And inside it's just all mud and like bouncing sound
Oh
waves.
wow.
So it was a crappy show, but then the dude says, like, oh, we'll be paid $100 as a group, which is, kind of measly. But I end up reaching out to him and he's just like, oh, sorry, dude, I'm at a wedding. Like, I don't have your money. I'm probably going to be broke by the end of this weekend. I'm like, I don't even understand. What are you saying? You have my money, but you're telling me you're gonna spend it? And
Oh man, that's terrible, dude.
like I didn't even get the point of it. Like he was telling me he was gonna like be broke after this wedding, yet he knew he owed me money, and I was just like, all right, well, like I'll be checking back in on you, man. So he ended up paying, but it was just like I don't know. It was a bit of a runaround and like
Yeah, you
so
got to
much
get the money.
unprofessionalism.
You got to get it like the night of the show, like
Yeah.
after the show's up.
Yep.
But sorry that happened, man. I would be like so mad if someone did that to me. I mean,
It
even
all
if it's
came to
yeah,
work out. I just told him I got to pay my bandmates because like that's that's their compensation is, whatever we get paid to play. So yeah, it's you
I'd
definitely
imagine you're not going back there anytime
see,
soon.
that's the kind of sad thing is like it seems to be the only place like people know about and that's like offering things. So it's like, oh
Mm.
man, it's a bit of a conundrum right now of like trying to find a good solid venue to like regularly play at. But yeah, we rehearse. We were doing it twice a week. Now we're just doing it once a week since we don't have any shows lined up, but we're like oiled up and ready to play just without anywhere to really showcase it. So
Yeah.
that's the current thing. But
You, you should talk to me more about that, like, after the podcast, like I could, give you some of the things I learned and
yeah,
stuff from gigging. Because I've played in bands for several years and learned like just about knowing your worth as a musician and like what other musicians are being paid and like knowing that they can pay you like a lot. Like if you're starting out, they'll take advantage of you, completely. But if you're it's just about being confident with your music and stuff, which is it can be hard to do to ask for more. um but I wouldn't feel bad, about it,
do you
accepting the
guys
price.
do you guys set a price or do you take gigs that say we'll pay you whatever the door makes?
um we try to set a price, like a minimum, but sometimes it's negotiable, because it's like sometimes something's better than nothing. um but yeah, just like kind of sticking to your guns. Granted, you're not saying anything ridiculously overvalued, but
Yeah. How
I think
many?
you deserve, like, musicians deserve at least 100 a head for, like, especially if you're doing a 3-hour show, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't do a 3 hour show. We could do a 45 minute to an hour set,
Yeah.
um, yeah. How many shows are you guys playing right now, like per week or per month?
Currently, we're kind of taking a break to record a little bit. The last gig we played at like this kind of, it was called the Dogwood Festival. It was really cool. It was like a battle of the bands type thing, and um, we were on this like big stage. It was probably the biggest stage I played on, and that was so much fun. And we ended up winning it,
Oh, for
So
real?
yeah,
That's
so
sick.
we're gonna be the prize was like coming back to the next festival to open for like some big band that hasn't been announced yet. So we'll see how that
Okay,
goes.
that's pretty cool, man. That's really cool. Congrats on
Yeah,
it.
thank you, man.
Is is that band's music online anywhere on Spotify?
At the moment, no,
Okay,
but
that's what the recording's for.
yeah, we're trying to get an even balance of everyone's asking like, where's your guys' music? So you know, hopefully, I'm not gonna go crazy. I'm gonna try to produce it. So hopefully, I don't go crazy mixing and doing everything like recording wise.
It might be easier if it's not your baby entirely.
Yeah, sometimes it isn't, but everyone is very picky about how they want their things to sound too. Other artists can be.
Oh, I mean, just in general or in your band, you think they're going to be nitpicky about your mixing and stuff?
Um, I'm about to get myself in trouble.
Don't want to
So
name names now. Just keep it vague.
no, I'm just.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
everyone's
like it's natural to want to get it perfect. But I guess it's a new experience trying to. Every time I record a new band, it's like I have to learn their sound, even though it's like our band. Like I need to learn what everyone likes, like how the singer wants everything to sound on the record. So, but it should be fun. We'll see what happens. I don't know yet.
Are you I know you kind of touched upon this already, but um in the fact that you said that you kind of like taking the back seat sometimes, although it sounds like with this band you still have a pretty heavy-handed role in like recording and producing and mixing and sort of steering the ship in a sense, with your experience doing all of that. But do you think that you're gonna piece together a Blue Karma band to front and do all the Blue Karma dreaming?
You know, I think I would really like to do that. It's been spinning in my head lately because I see all my other buddies doing their side projects, and I'm like, man, I miss, when I had a group. But at the same time, it's so, I know what else comes with that. Like, it's very, there's a lot of other like complexities. So I'm not sure yet, what I'm gonna, if it's gonna be a live thing or just, it comes down to the right people. If I can find the right people, I'm gonna do it, you know?
Do you want, do you have the desire to play these songs live?
I do. I would like to play. I think it would be fun to play these live. But at the same time, it's like when I write them, I'm entirely not thinking like, how am I going to recreate this? Because like some of them,
Yeah, same.
yeah, like with all the synths and stuff, like that's going to be like a nightmare to try to replicate unless I'm using a backing track, which I might end up doing.
I
'Cause,
mean, yeah, that's one way with Ableton Live. That's how I did it for a bit, and so we kind of got it worked out. And what's funny though is like with how many tracks were on some of my songs, somehow we were able to reduce it down to just like three, me playing guitar, and whether it's Joe and Garrett on keys and keys, or Joe on guitar and Garrett on keys, somehow we're able to fill it out, even though like on my song Taste It, there's like 100 tracks on it, like 100 individual,
oh my gosh.
Logic tracks. Of course, some of those were like snipped up and like had, volume or EQ adjustments or whatever, sweeps or something on it to make
Uh-huh.
it end up being that much. But I guess my point is that I thought there's no way that I can play these songs with any less than like 6 members, and three somehow like carries it, minus the bass and drums. I really want to get a real bassist and drummer, but yeah, as just from my personal experience, I'll just say that like it can be done for some reason. Like you can, I think, uh translate what you got on your album probably pretty well and still capture like 90% of like what makes it that song, and like it still comes across to people like, oh wow, this sounds a lot like the album. So I feel like your songs, while they're pretty loaded up, I could definitely see you dissecting it into like 2 or 3 different parts and being able to like mostly cover all the same ground, minus
That's,
maybe the EQ, like
yeah, yeah.
unless you have some controller for that, which you could get, but I feel
Um,
like you could. And just on a second like B side thought there, you could, like, it would just be really cool to hear your songs with you just with an acoustic guitar, just doing some acoustic renditions of it, just like, yeah, in the meantime, that could be really cool. Or you doing the same thing with the backing tracks. But yeah, either one would be cool. Maybe you could even open up for your current band as a solo, acoustic act or something.
I've I've thought about that too. Like, well, I think it would be cool to play shows like with, in conjunction with that band. I mean, two pretty different styles, but no,
That
it
can
would
be good
be,
though. Kind of complement,
yeah,
have a more contrast can be good sometimes.
yeah. but it's very inspiring to hear that you made it work with your setup, because we have similar, you know, in the sense that there's like synth parts that would be, I can just kind of play as a track in the back or something.
Yeah,
Um,
I did that like to kind of start out, and then over time, the keyboard player in my band, he just got Ableton, and we kind of combed through the tracks of the album and just kind of isolated parts and just tried to match up the synth noises. So then he just programs it all in. So he just hits a button and it switches to the next synth
oh,
voice,
okay.
whatever. So he has them all pre-programmed into, so like some real complex tones that might have so many plugins on it, it's already ready to go. So a lot of things that might seem hard to reproduce are like pre-saved into his sound bank. And honestly, like just Garrett and I played a show without Joe, who does the guitar, keys, and backup vocals. So it was just me and one other player, and it still sounded great. Like we still got such good feedback from the crowd, and like, sold a bunch of merch that night and stuff. So like it obviously went well enough, and that was just two players. So if you can just find one buddy who's excited about your music, maybe you have enough
Uh-huh.
of what it takes to start shopping it around. But I just,
Yeah.
I'm trying to make you excited to go play that Blue Karma music out to the world.
You're definitely doing it, man. Like it makes it feel doable when I hear someone like you doing it, like, and I've seen you like pull it off like on some of your videos. Like it's just a matter of, sitting down, dissecting the tracks, and you know, picking the players, like what you need as a and what you need as a player, and then what you need as a track. And for me, I'd like for me, I think the best flow would be having like a drummer, a bass player, me on guitar, and then like maybe a key player, but I might have the keys like programmed like as a
Yeah.
backing track.
Or,
So
I mean, what I've, oh, it's not in here, but yeah, I've just got like I forget what it's called, like a touch key or something, but it's just got those little like pads so that you can have a few things kind of like color coded or whatever, so you know what you're pressing and what you've got pre-saved in there. But like I've got that set up in front of me so I can trigger the backtracks, but I could also play little key parts myself too, because it's right there. So it's sort of the brain of like the drum and bass. But also it's a keyboard for me to use too. So like I know you said keys are maybe like your least strong point or whatever, but if you felt good enough to play a couple of the key parts, you could have the guitar on you and just switch to keys for when you need it to. But
that's
I
true.
definitely see I see your music being such a fun live show. It's got a lot of energy to it, so like I just see it being like really fun and groovy and rambunctious at certain points with some of those crazy drum fills. I could see it translating great to like a live club. So I want
Yeah.
to hear it happen.
I'm gonna try, dude. Like you've inspired me.
Are any of the
Um,
members in your current band like open to doing that kind of collab, or are they all tied up?
they've they've said, I've had a couple members, specifically the bass player, he said like, hey, if you ever need someone to play your music, like I got you. And then the a drummer, another drummer that he's playing on the side project with was also saying like, yo, like you need a drummer, I got you. And so it's nice to have that network. Um, like I know luckily I'm fortunate enough to know a lot of musicians in town. Like it's a very, close knit community here with that. And just making friends with everyone you can. It gets a good network going. So I'm gonna see what I can do. Hopefully we'll have some live shows coming soon.
Yeah, man. And
That'll be fun.
what was good for us was just starting out with that live stream. Kind of made the stakes feel a little smaller, where it's like our practice space could sort of be our first live show. And then I was like, all right, I think we got this from there. But that was like a nice little stepping stone for me, just so that the stakes were like a little lower and we're able to kind of test it out. Although sometimes the audio comes across horribly on those live streams, but yeah, I'm super excited for you, man. I feel like I'm gonna be seeing some live Blue Karma in the following year, in 2022. I got a good feeling
Yes, it's
about
coming.
it.
It's gonna happen.
Sweet. And on that note too, do you have any other kind of like creative follow-ups with your album that you're thinking for the following year that you want to do to promote it, that are kind of like outside the music realm or bubble, where you're thinking of apparel or album artwork or bonus something or another?
I'm thinking, I mean, I want to make some t-shirts. I feel like, a lot of people have been asking about those. And, I'll probably throw in some, do a little deal, throw in some stickers when you buy a shirt. And as far as, I don't really have a ton of ideas for promo. I mean, I'm just trying to send it to playlists right now, and Spotify editorial playlists. But we'll see. I mean, do you have anything you think of, or that you
Yeah, I
do?
was trying to think of it while I was kind of asking the question. I was thinking like, what would be like a really cool creative, maybe marketing idea for your album? I was thinking the fact that it's called Electric Retrograde. I was thinking like something electric based might be cool. I don't know, like drop a bunch of thumb drives from a helicopter over your town. And
Yeah,
then
it's totally doable.
they have like the album artwork on it or something. No, that's like taking it a bit far, but I don't know. I was just kind of curious if like after making so much music, if you kind of got a little burnt on that and are feeling like, oh, I want to get creative in a different way, or something that maybe will run parallel to the album that's like a different sort of creative endeavor for you. I just know that like, yeah, usually with album releases, there's like other things like music videos and stuff. So it sounds like you've already kind of put some thought into that stuff too.
Yeah, I've got the Ease My Mind video in the works, and I have another one for Empty Eyes that I'm trying to collaborate with a guy in France. So funny enough, like he just takes these really cool like retro looking shots around like the city and like the landscape where he lives, and I want to try to combine like some of my footage with his, and like let him, like, I want to try to collaborate more on the art side with people. That's I think the weak link, another weak link, that takes a lot of energy out of me. And I know you do some fantastic art as well.
Thanks, man.
Like, I love you. I just need to say, like, dude, you do everything. Like, as an artist, literally, I look up to you so much because you do the paintings, like amazing
Yeah.
paintings, music, a video game. You got all this merch, dude. Like, I was on your website and it looks so legit, dude. I'm like just blown away by what you do.
Thanks,
It's so
man.
cool.
That means a lot, Jacob. Thank you.
And yeah, and sorry to keep going, but like you're always working on something, dude, that's like new. Like you made like the styrofoam Astro Child. Like
yeah.
I think like 3D printing,
Yeah.
like pretty much everything creative like you have dabbled in. Like anything you're finding every nook and cranny and going there, and I love that, dude.
I
It's
appreciate that so
so
much,
cool.
man. That's very validating and nice to hear. And yeah, I think that like probably the greatest reward would be doing creative stuff myself and then just hearing from someone else like, dude, you creating like inspired me to create in any level. Just if someone says I'm inspired because you were creating, it's like that, you know, fills my tank. It's like the best possible thing I could hear. Like it's so much better to me, in fact, than even just getting like compliments on my own work. Hearing someone say like, you inspired me in general, or you inspired me and I'm fired up to create my own stuff, feels so good. So thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. The creations have a positive effect on you and get you fired up, and means a lot. But ultimately, man, like I say this at the market when I'm vending at the tent and people are like, whoa, like you're doing so many different things. And I just say that I refuse to stay in my lane. I refuse to stay in my lane. It's like, I feel like everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of people kind of get this concept in their head that like, oh, I am this one thing or this one type of creator. And like, sadly, when you put all your eggs in one basket like that and you get burnt out, sometimes you never want to return back to it. But if you have a multitude of things that you're comfortable, you know, a multitude of creative skill sets, I feel like you can keep going round and round. And as you go round and round, they end up reflecting each other and enhancing each other. And then it's like this unbreakable network of different skills that like, no matter if you have a bad day on music or on painting or on, you know, writing or sculpting or whatever it is, it's like you haven't lost everything because, you know, you've invested yourself in different modes of creation. And so, and it always like everything just feeds into everything else. I've never found that I've wasted my time learning the skills of how to make a video game or learning the skills of how to do a digital painting or whatever it is. It's like it always comes back to serve in a great and like useful way where it's like, oh, I'm so glad I have the skill set because now I can use it to like create album artwork, or you know, now I can use it to do whatever it is that you like, you want to do. Ultimately, that's kind of just the underlying thing is like I guess I just don't think there's anything that I can't do that I want to do. And that sounds a little narcissistic, but I think you have to kind of like start from that place in order to get over that first hump of like where so many people are so afraid to fail over in that first trial. But like honestly, that's one of the most exciting moments for me is like I just really got into the game making about a week or so ago, and like those first few steps of learning something totally new, it's a rush unlike like anything else for me at least. And I wish more people would see it that way, that getting into a new thing is a rush of like, because you make the most progress in the first couple of days or the first couple of hours of learning a new subject or a new creative skill. So it's like that reward of learning something so new in such a short amount of time is like, even if you're not that good at it yet, the rush of like getting involved in something you've never done before is thrilling. So like, I just try to maintain that mindset. I definitely don't think of it as like talent or genius or prodigy or, you know, oh, you're so talented or whatever. It's just like, it all comes down to just this like mindset of just like, I believe that no matter what new creative thing I get into, I can learn it and excel at it and give it my own flavor and style and my own little touch of me, and it'll be as good as it can be. And I think it'll be great. And like, whether it's music, video games, or trading cards, or t-shirts, or paintings, or whatever, it's just like, I expect that there'll be a failure phase of like learning and a lot of testing, but like, there's kind of this unshakable feeling at the very root of it, just like that I just feel I have just as good of a chance as anyone else at getting good at this thing. And because I have that mindset, I might even have a better chance. I think it all just comes down to like how much you believe you can do something. So whenever other people are like, I'm really great at dancing, but like I can't draw more than a stick figure. I think to them, or I say to them, at the market, like, if you want to draw or paint, like I really believe you could do a great job at it. Like, I actually believe that 100%. Like I have a lot of faith in people that they have potential. It's really about how much they believe in themselves to get there. So ultimately, I believe any other additional creative skill that you want to tap into, that you'll be literally, I believe you'll be just as good at that as you are at music. And that should be an exciting prospect for anyone who's already good at one thing. If they really believe they could be that good at all the other stuff that they try, like it just comes down to that belief in yourself that like you think you could be just as good of a painter as you are a musician. And I think that's all it takes, is just that belief in yourself.
I absolutely love that mindset, man. I also think similarly. I can't even say the but I do think it's all about approaching it with like, hey, I can do that too, like, and that's the key, man. Like, because everyone limits themselves so much based on like you said, like, oh, I can't draw. It's like, well, obviously, if you haven't tried, like, you're not gonna be able to. But yeah, man, like having all those different avenues of creation, being able to cycle through when you get burnt out on something, is really good, because I feel like a lot of the time with I mean, I have a lot of eggs in like the music basket, so to speak. And like if I'm feeling like, oh man, like today's just not going well with music, or I'm like feeling burnt out, it's like
an identity crisis.
yeah, because then it's like, this is all I have, like, or in your head you're like, this is like so much time goes into this. So that's why I think it's great that you have all those different outlets. And I think more people should approach it like that,
Yeah, it can hurt on a day that, like, I don't know, when you get a blow to your self-esteem, and it like, it can take a while to sometimes, get back on the horse. Like when it comes to music or something, like it's taken me months I've been demoing and stuff, but like after doing the last album, it's almost been a whole year and I've still been like shy to make music again. So I guess I'm a perfect example of like, even if, whether it's self-esteem or it's just being purely burnt out on a subject, it's like, yeah, I've had to take a lot of space away from like making music seriously, but it doesn't mean I had to stop everything altogether,
Yeah. And I've had definitely times where I'm like someone will say something, and I'll just feel like I'll just be focused on like about the music, and I'll be like, oh man, like I'll be thinking about it so much, and I know that's not healthy.
What, like a mix issue or something, or a meme?
Yeah, like for instance, this is so funny. I don't know if my dad's gonna be listening to this. He might be, but he said something to me in the car about, like, I let him listen to my album like after I released it, and I like gave it to him on like a USB, and he said something about it that was just like, it just was like, honestly, like coming from him, it was absolutely like crushing to hear. But he doesn't like any of the same music I like, so it's like,
yes, that's a hard person to get that opinion from.
Yeah, and he's very supportive of my music. He just said this one remark, and it gave me this whole complex about the album. I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, why did I release it? I'm like,
What do you
it's
say?
not
Like,
going.
oh, you're really going in like a Britney Spears direction or something like that.
No, it was. I honestly, I think it was the headphones he was listening on. He's like, oh, the mixes just sound like just flat, and I'm like, that was like the worst thing he could have said, because
Yeah,
I'm
that
like,
that might be a little bit like due to the speakers or whatever, but I thought it was pretty dynamic, man. I
yeah,
did, but
that's good.
I don't know. Maybe he's got more seasoned ears than I do.
No, he doesn't even have room to speak on that because like he doesn't even I don't know,
Hey,
but
well,
anyway,
I can feel you, man. Like especially Reddit and like YouTube comments have gotten to me in the past where I've just had to like take space away from it. But
oh gosh, yeah, it can be, people are brutal sometimes, and it's like you can say like, oh, like I can't take that personally, but it's hard not to sometimes. You're like damn, someone really thinks that about my music. But
yeah, it's tough. But I don't know how this directly applies, but I heard something great that I've been kind of passing on to other creators, which is I watched this video about writers who collect rejections as a marker of their like success, basically. So they submit their work and uh, like they want to achieve a certain quota of rejections from their submissions
uh-huh.
as a marker of how much they're submitting. So if they say, I want to get 50 rejections this year, then they'll know that even if their stuff is really good, that they had to put it out there a whole lot in order to get 50 rejections. So the point is
Yeah.
like some artists go around actually like wanting to get rejections because, or rejection in some form, because one, if the feedback is actually valid, then like it might actually be useful to them. But two, it means that like they are doing the work of presenting it to more people. So I don't think you need to take every single like comment that irks you like that to heart, but
Yeah.
maybe don't see it as a bad thing either. Like the fact that you're getting those comments means you're not so timid that you won't put it in front of people. You know what I mean? By getting the rejection or by getting a comment that you don't like in the first place, it means that you were courageous enough to put it out there. So the more of those you
True.
get, the more proof it is that you're putting it out there. So it's
And
reframing rejection.
yeah, I mean it's great. I mean, it's a good, it teaches you so much. Getting rejected, it humbles you, and it also, there's also the chance, like sometimes things are just like totally trashed on when they come out, and then they later down the road, like it becomes like a classic or something. Uh, like I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but like the song Mr. Roboto by Styx.
What was that made fun of heavily when it came out?
I I think it's like very like theatrical, like sounding, and like I don't know, it was kind of, I guess it's still made fun of, so never mind. Like that's not a good example.
I mean, it's popular though.
Yeah, I like the song, it's a cool song.
Well,
But
man, I mean, just the best opinions are going to be from the people who are either doing what you do or like who you highly respect their
yeah.
opinion. And, you know, I'm sure you know those people in your life. And uh, yeah, when they give you that good feedback, it'll ring true. But, not necessarily putting myself amongst that group, but you heard my opinion. I think it's twice as good as your first record. So I'll just leave it at that.
That
Just
that means like for real, so much coming from you, man. Like that reassures me exponentially, and I'm happy to hear what, I'm excited to hear what other people, how other people perceive it, because I do think it is a step up, and I want to obviously keep stepping up if I can, every release. But
Yeah, dude, you're on
yeah,
an upward trajectory. It did not disappoint at all, and it was just better in every respect to me. I mean, it's hard to say that because I hate to ever put down something to build something else up, but it the clarity, the sonic clarity was just noticeable right off the bat and all the way through. So um yeah, I don't want to say that's better, but I appreciated it more. Like it was a
yeah,
more comfortable listening experience. Not that the other one was grating at all, more of the opposite fact, where it didn't have enough cut through in some areas. It was
yeah.
not muffled, but it just didn't have enough brightness in some spots or enough
I completely agree.
punch and lowness in some spots.
And
So yeah.
yeah, and I take that as like, no disrespect at all. Like I like to hear that this one sounds better because I tried to take everyone's advice that they said, and especially the vocals a lot. I mean, the vocals were a little shaky on the first one, and then I tried really hard to get the vocals better on this one, and I still know there's room for improvement even on like every time I release something, I already feel like I outgrew it. Like,
Yeah, that's
like I've
so
been,
that's such a fact right there.
yeah, like I feel like I'm already way ahead of this album with what I'm doing now. Um, and I used a little bit of pitch correction on the vocals for this one, just a
You did
teeny
it
bit.
really tastefully. Like I said, the pitch was just a little more on, but there was never a moment where I heard a hard tune. It might have been in there, but there was never a moment where I distinctly noticed it, or yeah, no hard push. It there was like a vocoder, almost a vocoder sounding like flanger
Yes,
chorus thing on the last song on Portal. Is like what? And it's like, all right, maybe there was some like hard pitching there, but everything sounded really natural and just like better, cleaner takes. I will say the vocals maybe could have come up just a smidge more. I think you're being a little shy in the mix, but it was clearer this time, and I could understand all the words. The delay throws were more tastefully placed to where it wasn't like like echoing. Not to say that was the first one, but like sometimes when you just slap a delay on a vocal, it's just like and you can't really understand it.
yeah, yeah.
But
It's
this one
like
was like,
the repeats just overlap over everything. Yeah,
but this was, yeah, it felt like, especially I'll say the reverb on one vocal was so spot on and so subtle, but I wanted to make a comment about it. It might have been the eyes one,
hmm.
uh,
Empty eyes.
Empty Eyes. That one had a real soft vocal that seemed really new in like its approach and style from you. It almost didn't sound like you for like a little bit, but in a very tasteful, good way. And yeah, the vocals were really nice EQ, nice vocal takes. The only thing I thought was just that they could have come up like a dB or two more, just so I've leaned my preference that way a little more since the guy that I set my mixes to sort of put my vocals a little louder in the mix, like louder than I would. And ever since I've
Uh-huh.
sort of like listened to his way of mixing, I find myself gravitating towards it a little bit. So I think
Yeah,
it's all preference at the end of the day, but I'm starting to appreciate hearing the vocal and the humanity in the vocal too, which is kind of to your point of like hearing those little flaws sometimes are really make a song enticing sometimes when you hear those little breaks and crackles and vocal fry or whatever
hmm.
in their vocal, and it's like present. But yeah, all in all, man, such a good album. I'm definitely going to be listening to it again, and that's like it's a big compliment out of me, because I don't know, I can be kind of like one and done with some stuff if like the first um, watch through a movie or the first listen through an album like doesn't ring true on some deep level for me, then sometimes I just don't really come back around to it too quickly.
Yeah.
But this one, it was just dripping with goodness. So I'm really excited to like hop in the car and you know
Really
bump
good
that
to
to it
hear,
a little
man.
bit.
That makes me really happy, man.
Yeah, dude, you deserve it. Well,
Yeah,
dude.
hopefully there'll be some more coming soon. I want to follow it up. I want to try to keep, being more consistent with the music, because I took way longer than I wanted to on that album. Like I had
It hasn't
some of
even been a
the.
year.
It's funny because I that was supposed to be the follow up to Square One, where I was like about to release. Like I had most of those tracks like already like recorded very early on, like, and I just went crazy like mixing it, and that's where I need to
How
chill
long did
out.
you take just mixing it? Like, when were you done recording, and like how much mixing time was?
Oh gosh, it's embarrassing. It's like
Just say it.
def- definitely longer than I took to record it.
Oh
Uh,
no.
like I think I was like trying to release it in like February or March, and then I just started going crazy, like
February or March of last year, or of the
of this year.
so the very almost what?
So
Oh,
like
man. You need a system in place where it's just like drums, negative 10
yeah,
dB always.
I I learned I learned a lot from this one, especially what not to do. So
Well,
and I even thought about reaching out to your mixer,
yeah,
Arcoon.
yep,
Is that his?
or tune, yeah.
Yeah, he did fantastic work. He does fantastic work. And
Yeah,
that maybe it'll take a little stress off me to like let that process go. I
that
don't know.
is the point I actually like had to arrive at myself. But like, like my brain is in like 10 different like projects at once. So mixing was just one more thing I could not like. It just was breaking. Like it felt like something I couldn't be totally confident in. And like, even though I made all those demo mixes, like um I was doing the same thing as you, where it was just like nonstop export, listen, nope, export. What the hell?
Uh,
The first one was better. Export,
yeah,
export, export. It's just
I,
like, yeah,
I,
and like part of me loves that. Like, it's like you feel like a bit of a like scientist in a lab, like dripping a little bit of like, you know, chemical here and then like chemical B there. You're twisting knobs and then you go into the car and you listen, and it's like there's this experimental trial and error feel to it that I do kind of love. But at the end of
yeah,
the day, I always feel a little shaky, I guess, like calling it on par, I guess, with like the other mixed and mastered music out there. But uh, yeah, I don't know. But then a part of me like sees what you're doing, and I think to myself, like, oh, I'm just using Orchun as a crutch. I should really learn these skills better myself and like just be more self-reliant, or like Kevin Parker, like, oh, he does his own mixing. Like, I gotta raise
it's
my own personal standard. And
no, it's a rabbit hole, man. Like
yeah.
I agree with everything you're saying, but there's times when I'm like, I definitely don't think, like, even with the new, with these mixes, even though they're better, I still compare them to like real produced music, and I'm like, it's missing something. Like it's missing that X element that I don't know what it is. You know?
Some invisible glue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what it is. I mean, I've seen Ortune's work a little bit, and like he has plugins that I don't have, or that are like unique in some respect, or are a special kind of distortion compression or something. And so to that, I just think to myself like, this is a world that I can start digging into and learning bit by bit, which I have already to a degree. But like, I think to myself, like, I think he's got years of knowledge on me that like, this is something that like, it does feel better for me to pass it off, but it completely contradicts my whole philosophy of what I say about like, nah, you can do it yourself if you just believe in yourself enough. So like, there's like part of me that's like, you hypocrite. You should just do your own mixing if you really think you can do anything.
That's,
but
that's funny. And
but
I'm
yeah,
over here thinking, I'm like, man, I think that was a smart move to send it off because you grow to hate your music when you listen to it 100,000 times. Like,
you want to change everything, and no one's heard
yeah,
anything at that point. That's the
yeah,
problem with holding on to it for too long. You want to change everything about it after a while because you're bored and like no one's
yeah.
even heard it the first time yet.
You get to the point when you're like, right before you're about to release it, you're like, man, is this even good? I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
because you've heard it so much. That's where I got to for sure.
My bandmate, the key player Garrett, he's been writing a lot, and we were doing some like Dream Shark backstory writing, which he was saying kind of like helped spark his uh, drive to do it again. So now he's working on a novel, and we were texting today, and I was just hyping him up and saying like, "Man, I'm so happy for you, and this is going to feel so good to get it done." But like just pace yourself and beware of the burnout, and I think that like uh, yeah, for me, like mixing is that point for me where like ultimately I do think that I made the right call for myself to just pass off that responsibility. But yeah, I think like as long as you know yourself well enough to know where the trepidation and like the hazard might occur for you, it sounds like
Yeah,
it might be mixing also, but
that's
you're getting better at it at the same time. So it's like it's not
that's
time
good.
wasted.
Yeah, it's just so much time goes into it, like into getting good at it. And it's very easy to get burnt out when you're doing it over and over. And yeah,
Yeah. It
I
like it feels really fun to me when I go back to an old demo that's mixed really poorly. And then I
mhm.
jump in and make a few quick tweaks. And I'm like, oh, yeah, like now this thing's really bumping. But then anything beyond that, where it's like, all right, now let's take it to the next level and like really start dissecting it. It's like, it becomes so complicated where like you think that like cranking each like the bass and the drums ends up working, but then like you realize that they have to be down and the whole track needs to come up. It's really such a puzzle. It's like it's just a sonic puzzle.
Yeah, and the loudness is really the key to making it sound really good. Like knowing, like you said, knowing like if the bass is too heavy, it totally takes up all the headroom and makes the mix sound really quiet. Like if you want like a really thumping track, it's like that Tame Impala, like at the beginning of Glimmer on the is it on the
Yeah,
Slow
yeah.
Rush?
Like turn up the bass, turn up the kick, turn up the bass.
Yeah, and he's like, no, not really. Like
Yeah.
like that's not how you make it louder or make it appear louder. Yeah.
I thought he actually said, no, really? Like, no, really,
I
that's how you do it.
Yeah, that's funny because that's what it sounds like. But I watched an interview with Kevin, and he's saying how like
Oh, that's funny.
he said it's like no, not really. So
Okay. Yeah, that's more accurate then because it's like it's the perceived loudness, right? It's, it's like it's all about relationships and like one thing compared to the other. That's and that's like all like that's that thing that I was talking about like the more different forms I create in, the more I see that like how similar they are. And like that is making a painting too, all about color relationships, shape relationships, contrast and stuff. But like that's all that a song is just like one instrument in relation to the next in terms of its melodic qualities and its volume and everything, but it's just like a big net of relationships and like spacing everything just the right amount from its neighbor.
And if you change one thing like a little bit, it's gonna like just mess everything up.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's such a touchy thing, but man, just talking about it with you, talking about music with another musician, like it fills me with just that love for it. It makes me feel like at the end of saying all this stuff, at the end of kind of airing all of our grievances or all of our complaints about the process, the thing that like kind of bubbles up out of me is like, I want to, at the end of saying all that, I just kind of want to be like, yep, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, and I love doing it kind of thing. Like, yeah. It's there's so much that makes us want to pull our hair out, but like ultimately like nobody has to force us to do it because it's just that like enjoyable to do, willingly. So yeah, it's definitely worth the struggle.
I couldn't agree more, man. Like at the end of the day, it's a love-hate relationship, but it's more love at the end of the day.
And even if kind of the way I see it is like, even if either of our albums or other creations never take off in like a way that maybe either of us would hope, it's always going to be your own little portfolio, your own collection of gems. Every album is, a little gem that you can hold in your hand. And it's just nice to be able to like, I don't know, just look back. I imagine when I die, I'll be able to look back, and even if I don't have a penny to my name and no one really ever heard my music, it'll just be nice to know that like all these different projects were completed, and maybe they'll live on past me, but maybe I just get to enjoy sort of like reflecting on that portfolio.
Yeah. I think it's so cool how like just the fact that it exists, like that came together in the universe to make that, and it exists in that space and time. And there's always going to be someone out there, I think, who will go back and listen to it, like your core fans. Like I think like there's people that I think thoroughly enjoy those artists, those smaller artists, like such as you and I, and have like an appreciation for that. So it's a way of a legacy beyond ourselves to have out in the world.
It's so true. Yeah. It's a really like, it's a magical thing to be able to know that your voice and your sound waves and your melodies and that it could all keep going past you, that your great grandchildren could listen to Grandpa Jacob or great grandpa Jacob and be like, what? Oh, this is so cool. Like music sounds so different back then.
Yeah.
They'll think it sounds so weird and old fashioned, but but like
they're gonna be like, oh, that synth was so like 2010.
Yeah.
Like, or 2010s.
Wouldn't you be so hyped up though if your great grandfather's music recordings survived for you to listen to and like
that would be pretty cool.
Digest. I mean, like it's it can be like a thankless job, to put it like kind of crudely or bluntly. Being an artist can be a thankless job, or it seems that way a lot of the time, but like you got to look at the whole picture of like the beauty that you're releasing this creation out into the universe, and it might live longer than you, and every time you do that, no matter how big its commercial success is or not, like it's an important an important event for yourself and probably for your friends and family too. I feel like if nothing else, like when I write a song and like a friend or my wife or a family member tells me how much it meant to them, like moving someone emotionally really does a lot for me. And in my song Taste It, there's a lyric that says don't stop dancing if you feel it in your soul tonight, just lose your feet, and I know you'll crush it at whatever you try. Honestly, you're so unique, and it hurts to say it, but some people never want it to be that way. They don't complete your life, so keep doing what you're doing lately. I know you can. I believe in you. And so those are the lyrics. And my wife was listening to it in the car, and she said that like when she was listening to it, she kind of heard it in a whole new way. And she said like, oh man, it was like really the message that I just needed to hear today. Like I was feeling really down on myself, and like it's just made me feel so much better. And like it was just such a reassuring thing. And so just like that one moment of like the lyrics getting something across to her, my wife, you know, who's like kind of responsible to like, or it's her job to like my music, you know, but like for her to say that sincerely, like it didn't need to be a stranger from Poland or some random place to be like, oh, Dream Shark means so much to me. You know, this is my wife. And like, but yet just hearing that the music really did like serve that one little moment, like makes it so special for me. Or I wrote a song for my little brother, and it called I Am Your Brother. And when I played it for him, you know, he was crying. And like those moments, like I'll just be driving by myself some days and just think about that memory and then just start gushing tears, just so like overwhelmed by the emotion that the song could have affected him that much. And he lives in Massachusetts, so like we miss each other, you know, being so far apart. But yeah, when music does that kind of stuff, like it sends a message to me that like I don't need thousands of people to like, you know, cheer on Dream Shark. Well, I would like to strive for that, you know, that's the goal. But even if that doesn't happen, just those two reactions right there are probably enough to like make my whole musical career, my whole life of music worth it, just to like elicit those meaningful emotional reactions. Yeah.
I love that, man. Like that's what it's all about, truly. And your music completely captures, I think, your essence, and your messages come across very clear in your music, and it's very touching. A lot of the songs, man, for real. Like I'm definitely gonna, I'm inspired to listen again to
Nice.
the whole track. I was listening to some earlier, you know, like there's, you know, the classics, Don't Stop,
Yeah,
and Watching's I mean, that was the first one, right? Watching,
that
the
was,
first,
yeah.
I love that one, dude. Um, dude, I think you deserve, you know, you deserve all the success, man.
I
Whatever it
appreciate
comes
that.
to.
I think you do too, dude. I think that this is how it all begins too, is just by finding like-minded people who are, you know, positive and excited and passionate about what they do, and joining forces and using my teeny tiny platform of this podcast, which hopefully will kind of grow, but using it to hopefully hype your stuff. And you're always really kind to reciprocate on Instagram and stuff, and hyping up Dream Shark stuff, you know, whether it's the video game or whenever I put out a new song, you've always been super cool about that. So yeah, I think that like people get so competitive that they forget to even work together, when like, you know,
Yeah,
when that would do so much better for that, like everyone would mutually benefit by working together, especially like two guys in our situation. But I could easily see the culture being the other way around, where like if we weren't, you know, the way we are, maybe I'd be like, oh yeah, Jacob's doing this psychedelic synth pop rock stuff. Oh, he's my biggest he's my biggest competitor. I'm so jealous. And like, yeah, I see you you're friends with Zach, Zach's Tape.
Yeah,
I see his stuff all the time on Instagram. I follow him too, and he's always posting on like Tame Impala and stuff. And like, that's awesome. Like, I love seeing that. I love seeing that. Like, you know, you and Dan from Akoda, someone else I had on the podcast. Both you guys like are friends with our tune and stuff, and it's so great. I love seeing
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
connect and just reinforce each other's network. And I think that you go so much farther that way, and like you have a way more fun time doing it rather than feeling like everybody's your competition and your enemy and stealing dollars out of your pocket somehow. Like it's just not like
Yeah,
that.
that's silly, but a lot of people get wrapped up in that, and
Yeah,
it obviously comes from insecurity. You know, not thinking your own stuff is good, so you're focused on other people's, I guess.
seems that way.
But it's funny how you brought up the Zach's Tape guy. I
Yeah.
mean, he's incredible, and I don't know if I told you, but he actually lives in my city,
Oh, for
and
real?
like, yeah, and I didn't even know that. I was like he
That's
saw me
crazy.
playing, like I was like looking up to this guy. I'm like, oh man, this guy's so cool. And then he saw me post something at like one of the local bars, and he's like, wait, you live in Wilmington?
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, so I was like, we gotta chill, dude. So like
Yeah, man.
we have yet to meet up, but I want to do a collab with him at some point.
Oh,
Um,
that's a match made in heaven right there, man. Like you guys have
yeah,
such a similar style and sound aesthetic and similar like approach and stuff that it's like I see that being such a great collab that I would love to listen to as well. Like I'd be excited just for the end result.
yeah, it would be cool. He's got everything down pat, dude. Like the video editing is absolutely superb. Like, and
Yeah,
he's got the
just
vintage feel.
his drum sound is like very enviable.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
that
like,
I've been
how do you
like
get that
hesitant
sound?
because I hear his drums and like I've got my kit set up with like I bought a mic drum kit mic set or whatever. um but I'm like, oh man, like it has me like kind of like a little timid, like I'm second guessing my setup, like do I need to tune these heads? Do I need to change out the heads? Do I need to like take off the kick drum head? Like I'm worried I'm gonna get going, be like halfway through recording the album, and then like realize that like I should have positioned the mics like a little better or different, or like I don't
Yeah.
know. So when I see someone do it really well, I do get a little bit like intimidated and like can feel myself like going slower.
I mean, I think he uses some drum samples layered in there too, if I'm
Okay.
not mistaken. So like
There's replacement hits like mixed
he
in.
pro he probably has like, I mean, like layered samples. Like the drums are probably raw, still there, but he'll have like to get like a punch. I mean, that's a good production technique that I have yet to kind of dive into, surprisingly, just like layering a produced kick just to give it that punch, and
Yeah.
in the snare, the kick in the snare especially,
That's how
just to make
my
it sound like a proper, produced instrument, I guess.
we and when I say we, my old band and I recorded an album, two albums on Cape Cod with this like basement engineer dude. I mean, he was like this guy in his 30s with his like house studio kind of thing, but he lived with his parents. Okay, so yeah,
That's
anyways.
totally gonna be me.
But his stuff like sounded like pretty crisp and professional and like, but he would do the replacements for the snare and kick. What for like some of the like pop punk or like metal bands that he would work with, he would just completely like take away the original signal, the original
Yeah.
audio of the like snare. So sometimes it would sound like machine gun like, because there would be no dynamics to the snare. It'd just be like a snare roll would be like, just like it just sounds like,
Yeah.
So when he ended up recording our album, I was like, can you not do it like that? Can you like mix it at 50% replacement, 50% real snare or kick? But you could listen to that album if you want. I think you actually, I still feel pretty proud of this album, actually. I don't think it's something that I look back and like feel shameful about or anything, but the old music is under Prospect Reach, and the album's called Eden. It's on Spotify.
I would love to hear it.
Yeah, you could. I mean, if you really want to take a trip back in time, you can hear some really funny, embarrassing stuff from me, like which I'm sure will just bring you, lots of joy and laughs. But yeah, if you
I'm
want to
sure
do
it's
it,
awesome.
if you want to do a deep dive on my like history, Avoiding 24 was the first like music project I did, and then it was Prospect Reach, and then I put out another album under Benjamin McCarthy, and this was all before Dream Shark. But Prospect Reach Eden is a concept album, and it's like got a tiny bit of folky influence, not really that, or it's like a little twangy ish, but
Uh-huh.
it's also kind of like a space rock opera kind of thing, not like literally like like operatic,
Yeah.
but it's a like a concept story of a main character in this whimsical world kind of thing. So it's like it's pretty on brand with my like imaginative stuff, but maybe not like as sci-fi as I kind of like to go nowadays. So anyways, I hope
That's really cool.
I hope it's fun for you to listen through. I think that it'll take you on at least a little bit of a journey. And there used to be actually a YouTube video with like visuals to go along with it, and like a whole written story. But sadly, that like got taken down because I think they thought I was breaking copyright with my own self or something like that.
Oh yeah, I have that issue too.
Yeah. So
I don't know how to address that. I'm gonna have to figure that out because I get copyright claims when I like post my own music, and I'm like, damn it, like this is me.
yeah, it's quit ripping off Blue Karma. We know you're a fraud. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, man, we'll try to we'll bring it to a close here, since I think we're at the like hour and a half mark, which is pretty ideal and perfect for an episode here. We didn't really hit the extended explorers where I get to talk about unidentified aerial phenomena at all, but I'll have to save that for next time, because there was a lot in between our last conversation and right now that actually has come out regarding UFOs and UAP that I think is worth talking about as a follow-up, but we'll save that.
Yeah, I'd love to follow up on that if we get a chance.
I'll leave you with this enticing little bit. I took a video of something that I thought was really weird. As somebody who's keeping my eyes to the skies every single day for the last couple of years, I haven't seen anything interesting until one day driving back from a concert that was a few hours away from like where I live, down in Medford, Oregon. I was driving up and I took a video of something that looked like it was parked in the sky. I say that like completely static in one spot. So I was,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's tripping me out because I just saw like a TikTok of like a broom just like floating in the air, just static. And
A literal
it
broom or something that looked like one.
was like a broom. Like it was like a witch broom, I guess.
Okay.
But it didn't look fake. It looked really real, which is trippy. But
Yeah,
what
well, I have no idea if this is linked to that in any way, but what I saw was a long white. It looked like a fuselage of like a jet plane, except way bigger and way higher up and white, and basically like a long white cigar. and this thing was like not moving, and it was kind of like, well, I took the video, and eventually I'll post it and I'll share it with you and stuff, but I slowed it down and like put arrows to kind of show you where the object is, because I was going 80 miles an hour in the fast lane and trying to record on my steering wheel with my phone. But as I was looking at it, I was like, crap, it's not even picking it up. But then I looked back and zoomed in. I was like, it's really there. Woo, I actually caught something. And I rolled down my window and looked out, like to try and like really focus on it. I got to like do a reality check and everything. And so it was sincerely weird. And I'm not calling it a spaceship. I'm not calling it aliens. I'm not calling it really anything. But I will say, after observing every day pretty much and looking at aircraft and just keeping a curious eye to the sky, this was the first just very strange thing. And I recorded it for 3 minutes. So 3 minutes of not moving in one spot is an awfully long time. And I recorded 2 other planes that were passing by for a point of reference to compare against. So I got a lot of data, a lot of video and pictures and stuff to kind of compare. But it's something I asked my pilot brother about. He was trying to come up with all sorts of different explanations, and ultimately at the end of it, he said, like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. So yeah.
That is super cool that you got that.
I hope it is what I think it is.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know.
I say
I don't think it's anything. It's completely outside of my, like, the more I look into this, the phenomenon kind of thing, the more confusing it gets. So I don't know if we're looking at extraterrestrials or if they're future human beings that are like time traveling or what, but the government.
Or we're just in a simulation.
Maybe it's an interesting theory is that it's maybe like a course correction. Like it's if this is all a simulation, maybe it's something that just appears to nudge us in a certain direction or something. But it gets more interesting all the time with the government saying, forming an official UAP office in the Pentagon to study anomalous aerial vehicles that they say are not from this world. I mean, it's mind blowing, man. It's developing in a very mind-blowing way that makes me question different aspects about reality.
Dude, I'd love to go more into that, man, and pick your brain on that.
Yeah, dude. I know it's late for you, so we'll wrap it up here, but big congrats to you, dude. And I know your album is going to pop off. Electric Retrograde 11/11/21. Everybody stream it on Spotify and download it and pre-save it. Although by the time this comes out, I think it'll already be released. So I'm hoping people can telepathically receive this message to pre-save it in advance. And yeah, dude, I'm super excited to have it in my library come Thursday.
Heck yeah, man. Thank you so much for all the kind words. It's great, always talking to you, man. Like, we gotta catch up sometime soon. And yeah, I'm excited, man.
Absolutely, man. And on a last note, last time we talked, we said that there was going to be a Dream Shark Blue Karma collab in 2021. So I'm feeling real guilty about not following up on that. And I think realistically, I'm going to have to push that to 2022, but I want to assure you that I really want to make it happen still.
It's going to happen. I'm glad you brought that up, and don't feel guilty about it. I'm equally as guilty. You have an excuse. I mean, you got a whole kid, but yeah, dude, it's going to happen. Don't worry.
All right, man. Well, it's been great talking, Jacob. I'll give you that digital high five as usual. And I'll catch you next time, dude.
All right, brother.
Have a good night, man.